And we're live. Hello, everybody, to a new Fight Legends dev update. As always, I'm with Wombat and Dalen from the dev team. We're here to check out all the newest things that are happening with the project. How is everyone doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Doing
Awesome.
fantastic. Sorry, just traveling, so can't be on video today. But I'm so happy to have another game dev update.
Missing your beautiful face already.
Your face is here in spirit. Yeah, we got all kinds of cool things to talk about, man. I wanted to start off first right away with, the game launcher. We have an update going on there. Can you talk us just a little bit about that? We'll get through like the technical stuff first before we get into some cooler visuals.
Yeah, fair enough. So with the launcher, I mean, we were just switching our networking. Had a placeholder network to begin with, just so that we could get it out there as fast as possible for the early backers to play. Now we don't have to do that. We're waiting, doing the AWS. So it's gone from Firebase to AWS, and that'll be pretty much what we use for the rest of our networking. So it'll be out hopefully next week sometime. Might be a little bit delayed, but with the way that it's progressing, it should probably be out next week. And then everything will be using our new network.
And what sort of prompted that decision? Like, did something come up?
It was just basically how we were planning to begin with. It was sort of like we were doing a temporary solution, and now we're moving to our we're going to be using this for the life of the project solution. So it was just sort of temporary. Now it's permanent.
And I guess everything stays fluid, doesn't it? Because everyone's kind of see everything developing as it happens. You get the benefit of actually being able to change your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And as we grow, we went from such a small startup to now we're expanding, and so we need something that can expand with us, and that's basically AWS. It's basically dynamic. It'll be able to support us through the whole growth of our project now.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely learned a little AWS. Very powerful stuff over there for a couple jobs I had back in the day. So I know we're also designing and implementing a combat prototype using ROS as the base, and we're going to bring that forward to advisors. Tell us a little bit about that. What are they looking for?
So basically, we're doing our complete design of our combat system. So what ends up happening is that's really difficult to translate over to from just on paper. You can't really see it functioning. So you put through the design on paper, then you start to actually implement it to the engine so that you can actually see if it actually is fun. Because on paper, it sounds amazing. Everything can always sound amazing on paper, but does it actually play amazing? So then we send that to our advisors, and they actually give us feedback. Every week we take a new build to them, and then they give us feedback. We go and iterate on that build, change the things that they didn't like, or implement new things that they would have suggested, things like that.
Now, as an absolute math nerd, you're obviously keeping a spreadsheet. I think that's how you told us a couple of weeks ago. That's actually how you do it. So, and that spreadsheet kind of fuels what's going into the actual game mechanics, which you're then sending to the advisors that kind of know a thing or two about said mathematics behind combat fighting games.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we keep a spreadsheet. We're also going to with this new version of the game, when we set it up properly, we'll actually be able to record matches, because what we're going to be doing is setting up the game so it's deterministic, which means that typically, going into the nerdy details, the CPUs don't always calculate floats, which is that whenever you have a number that's not a whole number, so 3 point, etc., 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 that's not calculated there's no standard for a CPU to calculate those kinds of things. So it can come out non-deterministically. So you'll have little random variations. And for a game that needs to be state specific, so each client needs to be exactly the same as the other client, you need it to be deterministic. So basically what you do with that is as you record the inputs that the players did on what frames, you can replay it perfectly. So you can have an exact replication of each match from the match being recorded by the server. So that'll also help us debug everything as well, and help us then send that data to them so they can watch it.
Hey, that's awesome. And not only that, whilst you were saying that, do you incorporate that into the AI and building the AI component of like when you just want to play against the computer?
Good point. Now the AI will be sort of a separate thing, and because of the way that we want to set up Fight Legends, we want to have. It's not going to be something that you can just pick the difficulty of when you're playing the actual story mode. We're going to actually have a sort of a standardized difficulty, and it will be based on how the fighters level up and things like that. So that's going to be a component that we start building later. Basically, to begin with, we're going to just heavily focus on player versus player interaction, or just like training room sort of mode functions. We might have a light AI in there, but it'll be pretty basic until we can flesh it out. We'll actually hire somebody that is focused primarily on that role.
Nice. And I saw that we have some NFT drop news that we're being pushed forward a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that before we get into some more of the visual stuff.
So we've just had a partnership with Hudui. I'll say that I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
And we're just doing a small drop with them, just sort of like to taste test, sort of just build up a little bit of a fun, like kind of, it's going to be more of a fun NFT drop. It's not going to really be for utility. The next drop that we're looking at doing is like a companion drop. So we're having a companion in the game that is that basically follows the player through. It's kind of like a way that it introduces the game, sort of a bit of like a game design decision. And so we're going to be doing a 10K unique drop of that. And that's been kind of pushed forward. We were going to be doing the trainers. Now we're going to be doing the companion drop. It's basically going to be free. We're going to just do it for gas. We don't want to. This isn't for making money. It's more for like just getting people involved into the project,
right.
And giving people like this unique little cool like custom version of what will be our mascot, so they can actually own one of them.
Awesome. Well, that's very cool, man. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our first visual here, which is Nyx, which we're actually finally getting implemented into the engine. This is very exciting. One step closer to having another playable character in the demo. So tell us a little bit more about that as we take a look at the graphic you showed us.
Yeah, so Nyx, it's taken a little while to get her done because there was a couple little things that were technically more difficult than the other characters. But now we've got that done. As you'll see, there's a few things that aren't finished with the character so far, but we will be getting that finished pretty damn soon, and probably be next week that she's able to start being completely rigged and then animated. And then our animation director, who's been really chomping at the bit to actually animate her, because she's got some pretty cool attacks that we're designing with her. But once he's able to do that, it's going to be great, because then I get to get my hands on it and actually implement them to the game and see how it feels.
And so when she actually starts, and it must already be happening behind the scenes, you're obviously playing Ross versus Nyx. Is that what's happening? And you're seeing the balance between those yet, or not quite yet?
Not quite yet. She hasn't been completely rigged yet. So the animations that she would have it's a placeholder at best. So we're still just waiting for that final little part to be finished before we can actually start implementing those attacks and start playing with her in game.
And what is difficult exactly about it? Is it the extendable limbs or something like that, or what particular is it?
Yeah, precisely.
Okay.
So it's pretty much the ability for her model to have sort of dynamics with it, whereas Ross is very simple at the moment. He's doesn't have any extra mechanics to him. It's just the motion. So
right.
How rigs are set up, basically, you've got all the joints, and you have to have constraints, and you have to set up controls for the animators to easily maneuver. And it'll one joint will have a certain amount of weight that it moves the next joint, so everything can move without folding in on itself. It can actually sort of bend, sort of like a human would.
Right.
Obviously, there's very unnatural parts of it, but one of those things that's difficult, again, is the extendable limbs. Being able to be properly animated, we need to have extra rigging support for those things for them to be able to.
And wouldn't it be amazing? Like, because the first thing that comes to mind is like a Dalsim. Obviously, it'd be kind of amazing to have someone, on that project involved, wouldn't it? But anyway, yeah, Shawnee, keep going. I love this chat.
Absolutely. Well, next we've got some new the wall kick and a charge kick that we're using. So we're going to take a look at some new footage and you have us walk us through that. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah. So basically, we'll have we've got 3 special attacks that Ross has. He'll have a charge kick, which will be able to charge up, and the more you charge it, the further the character gets knocked back, and more damage that they take. If you'll notice in the video that when it connects to the wall, it actually has like a special animation that when it hits, it knocks up against the wall, which is kind of kind of cool. And then we have a launcher that we haven't quite finished yet, but we're getting there with it, which basically just launches them up and sets them up for additional combo. And then we've got a wall kick, which we've spoken about in the past. It could be used for an escape from a corner,
Right.
Or you can actually time it so that it actuates in front of or behind the opponent to try and catch them off guard for the blocking.
Is there any kind of limit to being able to juggle, and how many juggles have you gotten off of this move yet?
We're not too focused on the juggling at the moment.
Right.
One of actually the feedbacks from the advisor we just got is that they think that it's very punishing when a player gets caught into a combo that they can't escape. They don't sort of like that part of the game. They feel like we shouldn't go strong into that part of the game. We will have it, but maybe we might make it a little bit more lenient so the player can somehow break out of it or defend against it. But it's still early in this design phase.
I think that's key. I like that because you get frustrated. It's like a throw down your controller. Like, well, I'm not even playing right now.
Yeah,
this guy's just going to mess me
exactly.
up.
Well, essentially, that's what Killer Instinct was, right? Killer
Exactly.
Instinct come along, and they were the first fighting game that implemented that combo breaker. You know, they and not only that, but they went nuts on the combo. So they had both sides of that fence. So, you know, having that balance between those two things is great. Like, well, I know that heavy kick that you're talking about that charges up. And what I really want to see from next week, maybe in the visuals from everyone, if you can maybe give us a visual of throwing a launcher up and then timing a heavy kick. So as they're landing, you smash them.
Yeah, I've actually pulled that off once or twice in the game demo already, so it is possible. It is slightly difficult because of the way that it has to charge up and everything. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what we're after. We're after some moves that look cool, that are skill based to sort of time together.
Correct.
Yeah, that little bit more of a learning curve, you know, for the better player. You know, we want players that are really grinding and trying to get good to actually have those things that are a little more difficult to learn that they can get a step up on the competition with. So that's very cool. All right, so let's see. A couple other things just finishing off here, unless Wombat, you've got anything else. It looks like our Bloody Faces Mint page has been released. This is very, very good. Val's been working hard over there. Tell us a little bit about that and went into that if you can.
Yeah, so we actually kind of went a bit, Val got a bit sidetracked, but in a good way, because he basically wanted to implement sort of a 3D viewer, and we found a 3D viewer sort of platform that we could use. So with a collaboration with our modeler, me helping them both organize it, and Val, we got a really cool looking asset to work in the browser, and we're going to probably end up using it for more of the like app and game integration into the website. So we're hoping to have some pretty cool 3D visuals being able to be displayed and or potentially interacted with on the website. So that's something that you don't typically see. I don't think I haven't seen it in any other of the projects in the space.
I tell you what, this is what I'm excited about soon, because we had a meeting and Sean, I believe you are going to be organise our first tournament starting next week. And so what I'm really interested in seeing, and a question for you, obviously, Dalen, is once all these Bloody Faces people start really getting into this game and playing each other, and the community builds and more people are playing and people are getting better, like we were saying before, the people that are grinding and finding the little nuances in the game, that's going to bring up more nuances in the game that you even knew about, right? Mm-hmm. And so does that mean, like, with the game, do you release sort of season passes so then you can balance out characters of, you know, maybe this character just gets one guy becomes absolutely unbeatable at it and you got to nerf it a little bit, and how's that going to sort of play out?
Yeah, so we actually are doing that. We're thinking about having that. We basically have seasons, like you mentioned. There will be balanced in different ways depending on the new fighters potentially that are coming out. We're going to have basically we hope to have a quick iterative process of creating a new region, and each new region will have new fighters. So we'll almost probably end up designing the seasons around that release schedule. So each region has basically its own seasonal tournament within it. even if there's like a preseason and then like the season proper. But yeah, like you are mentioning and you're nailing, there are always side cases that pop up during these things that you go, oh, that shouldn't be allowed. We'll have to do it depends on how prioritized it is. If someone makes something that's too game breaking, finds something that's too exploitive, we'll obviously have to hot fix it, like pause and hot fix it. I would like to avoid rolling back people's scores based on people using those kinds of things, because if you've accidentally left it in the game, sure, you can exploit it, but we accidentally left it in the game, so it's more of on us than them for finding it.
It's kind of like Ethereum and Ethereum old, right?
Yeah, kind of.
All right. Well, actually, I had one more special thing here. We got some bloopers out of the dev room, so I wanted to go ahead and show everyone this just for extra fun.
Oh, I cannot wait for this. This one's fantastic. I've been playing this. I think I've played this clip at least 100 times this week.
Yeah. First, we had the spinning head. Now we've got this going on. Just tell us a little bit more about how these sort of things coming up. I mean, what particularly caused this, polygon battle sort of thing that we're watching here.
Right, the abstract, what I call the abstract painting.
Yeah,
the other abstract painting.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's so basically that just came about because we tried to update the rig, and there was just one little thing that stopped it from being compatible. So as soon as you swap it into the with the models to use, Unity throws a hissy fit, and that's the result, which is kind of fun, kind of cool to play with, because everything still works functionally, everything still lines up. It just it becomes a mess. But the head rolling one was me implementing a recovery animation from the charge kick, which just so happened to happen after the charge kick. So he just ends up laying there with his head spinning, which is just amazing. I had to put the controller down for a minute after.
Hilarious.
That's beautiful.
And one last question I actually had come up with the other day. We're seeing all sorts of awesome, beautiful art come out for our stages. And can you tell us a little bit more about like the roadmap? When are we going to see another stage in the actual playable demo? Because we're seeing so many cool ones out there. When's the next one coming?
It will be probably pretty soon. We've actually, one of the things that we're missing is a technical artist to be able to help us go for the pipeline of taking the stage and bringing it in. But we've started contacting places and different companies to help us fill those gaps in our small but growing company. So that would probably be coming pretty soon. We've just had a few meetings, and we're lining up the sort of partnerships required to start having those like sort of contractors come in to be able to help us do that. So I've already started tentatively putting the Bloody Faces Clubhouse into the game, so that'll be probably the first one you'll see.
Nice.
For our Bloody Faces holders, and then we'll start doing all the rest of them. And when they start, they'll start coming in thick and fast.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's kind of getting ready to start implementing them, but Jason Quack, our stage designer, is actually getting them ready. They're not on a conveyor belt of sorts. They're all getting set to burst open. That's awesome. So there's going to be it's going to happen fast, and it's going to be very cool. And of course, that marketplace one, or the Bloody Faces Hideout one, is exclusive only to our early access NFT holders. You can find that at bloodyfaces.io. Any last words, guys, before we take off? Thank you so much.
I've got my Bloody Faces, and I'll see you online.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's awesome. It's always fun to share this time with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll see you guys every Thursday night right here at the Dev Update. See you Fight Legends on, wow. See, it was fine until right then.
No, I actually think you still nailed it.
We'll see you next time, guys. Later.